people prescribed medical marijuana aren't allowed to own guns. Is this restricting people's Second Amendment right to bear arms? Welcome to America Uncovered. I'm Chris Chappell. So marijuana stands in an awkward legal gray zone. Well, maybe not stands, more like reclines in a tie-dye beanbag chair. On the federal level, it's still against the law to use marijuana. Under the Controlled Substances Act, marijuana is considered a Schedule I substance, meaning that it has a high potential for abuse, just like heroin and LSD. At the same time, the federal government, for the most part, has looked the other way when states legalize marijuana. They don't really do that with other Schedule I substances. Even in Colorado, I don't think you'd be able to stop in a heroin dispensary and get a black tar brownie without the feds getting involved. Now, there's some evidence that marijuana can have medicinal uses. That's why many states have legalized medical marijuana. And yeah, some states have legalized recreational use as well, because they're not like a regular mom. They're a cool mom. But did you know that if you register to get medical marijuana, you can't own a gun?
I was in constant pain probably for well over 20 years.
Jamie Mead has struggled with rheumatoid arthritis and spinal stenosis for 15 years.
Vertebrae to vertebrae, so they had to go in.
Back and neck surgeries and prescription drugs helped,
but still I have, at the end of the day, agonizing pain. So I started looking into this medical marijuana, not knowing much about it.
Jamie didn't get very far because a local dispensary told him he couldn't renew his concealed weapons license if he had a medical marijuana card.
And I thought that was very interesting, plus somewhat unfair. I mean, if it's a prescribed medication, why would the FDLE or any governing agency step in?
Yeah, why would they step in? It's not like they stop people from getting guns if they get any other medical treatments. Is that an eye patch? Better stick to swords, you stinking pirate. Well, under federal law, it's unlawful for anyone to give a firearm or ammunition to any person who uses a controlled substance, including Schedule I drugs like marijuana. So whenever you fill out a Form 4473 to buy a firearm, and you're asked if you're an unlawful user of marijuana, you'll have to tick yes, even though your marijuana use is prescribed by a doctor. The form warns that the use or possession of marijuana remains unlawful under federal law, regardless of whether it has been legalized or decriminalized for medicinal or recreational purposes in the state where you reside. This means you'll be unable to buy guns or renew your gun license. The federal government is basically like your divorced dad saying, I don't care what your mom lets you do at her house. While you're with me, you follow my rules. Now put out that joint and let's go shooting. So what happens if you just lie to your dad? Well, in some states, medical marijuana dispensaries must share patient registration IDs with law enforcement, so the feds will know if you're lying or hiding something, which means you have to choose between guns or medical marijuana. It's basically the Sophie's Choice of Grateful Dead fans in Texas. Obviously, any use of marijuana means you aren't allowed to own a gun. But with medical marijuana, you basically have been told by a doctor to take this, and your state has made it legal. So many people might not know that they're making a choice between medical treatment and gun ownership. In 2011, this was reinforced by the ATF in an open letter. This ban on medical marijuana users exercising their Second Amendment rights was challenged in Wilson v. Lynch, a 2016 federal court case. The Ninth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals ruled the federal ban doesn't violate the Second Amendment. The federal government argued that the ban is reasonable to deter crime, given the link between illegal drug use and violence. And the court ultimately agreed. Although I'm not sure how much crime the ban actually deters, the case was specific to people with medical marijuana cards. And having a medical marijuana card is like saying, the only thing I like more than getting high is following the rules. The court also said that the ban is not a severe burden on Second Amendment rights. The court said that's because federal law bars only the sale of firearms to people with medical marijuana cards, not the possession of firearms. The court said that people could have bought firearms before they had medical marijuana cards, and it would still be legal for them to have and use them. So it doesn't infringe on their right to bear arms. Or they could just give back their cards. Then they no longer count as a user of a controlled substance, so they can buy guns again. But this is confusing, because the ATF letter specifically mentions that it's illegal for marijuana users to possess firearms too. So who's wrong here? The Ninth Circuit Court or the ATF? Anyway, the court decided that this wasn't a severe burden, and they judged ultimately that the federal government's interest in violence prevention was reasonable, so this ban did not violate the Second Amendment. But some say it shouldn't be an either-or choice between guns and medical marijuana. I'll explain after the break. Welcome back. The U.S. federal government bans medical marijuana users from buying firearms. It's a choice between guns and medical marijuana. But there is pushback against this. Some, like Florida's Agriculture Commissioner Nikki Fried, thinks it shouldn't be either or. Yeah, why not weed and guns? That's the American dream. And also what's on the blacklight posters at the back of every Spencer's. Nikki Fried is a Democrat who has campaigned on being pro-weed. And she's suing the Biden administration.
We are filing suit against the federal government, against the U.S. Department of Justice and the ATF, over the violation of patients' Second Amendment rights due to federal law deeming it illegal for a medical marijuana card holder to purchase or possess a firearm. But denying the Second Amendment rights of medical marijuana patients is not about safety. There is no evidence that medical marijuana use makes individuals more dangerous or violent.
If anything, I'd say the opposite is true. The more weed he's smoked, the less dangerous and violent Snoop Dogg has become. Fried says that she isn't challenging the federal government's right to enact reasonable gun regulations that protect the public. That's the NRA's job. Her goal is to fight discrimination and to promote safety through background checks that don't penalize medical marijuana patients. The suit is based on an interpretation of the Rohrabacher-Farr Amendment. It prevents the Justice Department from using federal funds to interfere with state medical cannabis programs. The suit argues that by preventing people from having both medical marijuana and firearms, the federal government is violating the Rohrabacher-Farr Amendment by blocking Florida from adding new patients to grow its medical cannabis program. Fried isn't the only politician to push for medical marijuana users' Second Amendment rights. In 2021, Republican Representative Don Young and two GOP co-sponsors pushed for a revision to existing federal law to ensure people aren't signing away their gun rights. The bill would exempt people from being categorized as unlawful users of a controlled substance in states where marijuana is legal. At the same time, marijuana would remain a Schedule I controlled substance under the proposal, and the federal restriction against owning firearms would remain in place for consumers of any other drug. Which is fair. Not sure if I want someone on heroin shooting up with a syringe and a Glock. But so far there's been no progress on that. So, how does President Joe Biden feel about medical marijuana patients using firearms? I'll tell you after the break. Welcome back. Federal drug laws have made it so that people with medical marijuana cards can't own guns. Now, some lawmakers have pushed back, but what does President Biden think? Biden had generally campaigned on supporting marijuana decriminalization.
As president, I'll work to reform the criminal justice system, improve community policing, decriminalize marijuana, and automatically expunge prior marijuana convictions.
But Biden is personally very hesitant about marijuana, especially given his family's history with drug abuse. Even investing in companies involved in marijuana is a big no-no if you want to get a job with security clearance in his administration. According to a Biden fundraiser, Biden isn't motivated to act on federal marijuana regulations. So he's not motivated and constantly forgets things. Sounds like people are being denied marijuana by a president who's basically a pothead. So the Biden administration isn't going to change the federal law stopping medical marijuana users from having guns. In fact, last month, the DOJ filed a motion asking a federal court to dismiss Nikki Fried's lawsuit. The court hasn't dismissed the case, so we'll have to see what happens next. But what do you think? Should medical marijuana users be allowed to buy firearms and ammunition? Leave your comments below. And if you like this show, remember that we rely mainly on direct support from viewers like you. Please visit our new Locals community at americauncovered.locals.com. Become a supporter and help us keep making great episodes. Or contribute to us on Patreon at patreon.com/AmericaUncovered. Click the links below. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thanks for watching America Uncovered.